Welcome everybody. Today we have Dean from Evolve, but you're more than Dean from Evolve. We want to know about Dean Sammut, the person, the man, the driver. Welcome, Dean. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Adrian. Good to be here, and lovely to share a fantastic coffee. These guys do a good job.
They do. Thank you, the Bobbies.
They've just come on as a sponsor, so
even better. Yeah, some nice cars parked out the front too. So there's a bit of the good culture around here.
We're still looking for Bialetti to come on as a sponsor as well, aren't we? So,
I've already had the email from a friend of mine saying that marketing has been contacted.
There you go. So, Dean, we're here, I guess, wanting to relive the old days. Mostly this is about storytelling. And you're a car guy, you have a business within the car scene as well. But going back to some of your earliest memories of cars, where did your passion for cars start from?
It's probably two stages in that. The first stage when you're a real little kid and you've got all your toys and things, and I always had car toys. But I do remember one Christmas, we went to a relative's place, but it was like maybe my dad's cousin or whatever, not a direct relative. But I got given a present, and the present was the Formula One car, the Elf, the blue Tyrrell, I think it would have been. And it was just, when I got that, I just was like, oh, wow, and it was more than just playing with it on the ground. With the other cars, you just push it around on the ground. But that one, I really engaged with it and the shape of it and I could just see the speed that this thing could do. But this is like, it was like 70s, early 80s kind of Formula One car. And I remember that vividly, how much that car stood out from all the other cars, all the other Matchbox toys and things like that. And so that was one of the first, when I was a little kid, the first real connection to more than it being just a toy.
Yeah.
And then obviously as time went on, I just fell in love with cars and bought all the magazines and read everything I could. And
was there a particular magazine that you used to?
Well, initially I was into like street machines and things like that.
Yep.
I used to go out on a Sunday, I'd go for a ride around the neighbourhood and just look in driveways and see for the garages that were open and people working on their cars.
Well, that's
and I would just stand at the front of I'd be on my bike just standing there looking in, watching them turn spanners on
Now
their
you get arrested if you did that.
That's happening a lot now, isn't it? People are riding around seeing what's in garages.
We've got young kids looking in garages.
Yeah, luckily it was the young kid looking in, not the old person looking at the kids. But I would spend every weekend just doing that. Every Sunday I'd ride around the neighbourhood, and I knew there was a couple of spots where there was always some cars, and we had some good cars in our neighbourhood. And that was Street Machine. I grew up in East Keilor.
Yep.
And so I adventure to Avondale Heights and Keilor Park and stuff as well, because there was, you never know what
you can find. Yeah.
Nah. East Keilor was the better one. But
Shout out to East Keilor.
It's East Keilor, not Keilor East.
Oh, right, okay. We're tourists, we don't know.
Yeah. But that was, I used to get so excited about that. And occasionally someone would go, they could see I was interested in they'd let me to come in and have a closer look at the cars. So cars were sort of mystical in that these people were building and pulling them apart and doing other things to them. And I was like, wow, they're not just from the shop, you get it and do it. You can do other things to it. And so there was that aspect that I really enjoyed as well, and the rebuilding and all that sort of stuff. So street machine sort of things was what I was into back then, and seeing a car go from this to this and it be very different from where it started to what it became, and
the evolve of it.
Yeah, that's a trademark.
Stop it.
And then
comment here, isn't it?
So I actually wanted to do that myself when I was really young. So when I was 11 years old, that's when I bought my first car.
Oh, wow.
Because my dad was always tinkering with cars. Like, he'd buy some crap things and then he would flip them, he would buy them for $200 and then sell them for $1,000 or whatever. We used to go to the council auctions. They used to have all the cars that they would collect around the streets that were unregistered and things. And then every 3 months, they'd have an auction. And so you'd go along. It was a Saturday morning and there's 10 10 people there. Some people knew what they were looking for. They wanted a particular car or whatever. And then at the end, there was always something left over, and Dad would buy that. And this one day he goes, do you want to buy your car today? And I'm like, sure. And
Look at us say no to that.
HT Belmont was there, and that was left at the end. And Dad said, oh, we'll give you $10 for it. And the council want to get rid of it. So they're like, yep, but you've got to move it out, by 12 o'clock. So he goes, yep, no worries, give him $10. Drives home and gets all the tow ropes and stuff like that. So it wasn't planned. It was more of a spur of the moment thing that he decided to go ahead with this. Comes back and we get in the car, and it's got a
around the tree.
On the tree.
Yeah.
Move it around. Yep, that's in neutral, no worries. Now, I'm not tall at the best of times now, right?
Come on.
And I'm 10 years old and 11 years old or whatever. And I'm definitely not tall enough to reach both the pedal and the steering wheel at the same time. So I had to choose one. And Dad goes, look, it's in neutral, so all you need to do is steer it. And when we get around this corner here, then you stop steering and you go to the brake, right? So we've got a plan for how I'm trying to use the controls.
Yeah.
And we go, he ties it all up. He starts pulling it out. And as we start pulling it out, it goes, and it takes off, because it was actually the gear shift was broken, which was probably why it was dumped, and it was in gear. And next thing you know, I've had my first crash. I'm 11 years old. I don't even properly own the car yet. I ran into the back of Dad, and then we realised the car goes, and he was even more excited about that because he's got a car that goes. So then we had to, we got it out onto the street, and he got Mum to come down and help get it home. It stayed in the garage for about maybe a year, and I sort of pulled it apart, put it back together, all different stuff like that. And then I sold it for $110, and I thought I was like an entrepreneur. I was like, look at me, I'm making money on cars.
That's the
last time you'll make money on cars.
No, $10.
$10.
Sold it for $110.
That's the only car he probably ever made money on.
Yeah.
Bernie Madoff, hey?
Yep.
Look at you.
Yeah. Was, isn't it?
That's tenfold.
And so that was my first car experience, owning it and stuff. I got photos of us all sitting in it and stuff like that. And, it didn't really go anywhere. I don't know what ended up happening to it after that.
What colour was it?
It was white. It was almost like, you actually put a photo of one up on?
Yeah, I found one. Yeah,
It was just like that one.
Yeah.
And then where I lived, there was a train line and some factories, and I'd go over the train line, and the factory, there was a vacant block, and the factory that was very first on the side of the vacant block was a wreckers. And I'd, on the weekend, jump in their big dumpster bin and pull engines apart and put them back together, and just all that, just that exploring and that just trying to work out how things work. And so I'd do that. And then one of the guys up the street, in my very street, he had this Ford Cortina that he'd put a V8 in, and had big fat drag tires on it, had at one point put a supercharger on it, and he was always working on it, and I was always hanging around and doing stuff, turning some spanners with him and things like that. And I remember one day walking home from school, and halfway home he came around the block and goes, hey, you want a lift? And that was the first time, after all the times, that was the first time I got to be driven in it.
Yeah.
And it was never turning back after that. It was like a proper drag thing, and I was like, so into it.
The addiction started.
Yeah. And I used to go had a membership for Calder Park to go to the drags every week and all that stuff. And I couldn't get enough of it. After some period of time, I realised the cars didn't just go straight line like a drag racer does, and I realised they could brake and turn corners really fast as well, and that excited me even more after I realised that you can go around a corner really fast. So that was probably one of the longest ways of describing how I got into cars.
Well, I called you for a 2-minute conversation the other day, and that went for 38 minutes. Hence why you're here. You saw, you had an early experience with drag racing. But then circuit racing, or sort of, how did the passion for motorsport kind of blossom from there? That
Toyota Wreckers, the Wreckers that I mentioned was a Toyota Wreckers, and the guy in there actually had a circuit racing car.
Right.
And one time he got us to go to the track to help him, because I was actually, by that stage, not just jumping in the bin and pulling things apart, I was working there on the weekend as well. And he took me to Calder Park, and we watched him race around in this circuit car, and that's where I realised that cars could go around corners fast as well. And And so I really changed my passion then, and became more aware of things like Formula One. I used to think was stupid because they weren't relevant to a real car and stuff like that. But then I started to realize, oh wow, it all makes sense. And it was literally, I went go-karting and everything with my mates and did a lot of that and enjoyed some of that side of circuit racing, is the cheaper or more affordable and accessible form of it. And I was really lucky at the 10-year high school reunion. One of the friends that I went to school with, he used to have on his school books, he used to have like Porsches and BMW M3 and stuff like that. And I used to have all these street machines with big fat tires and skinny little ones on the front. And, I used to think how cool of mine. It's got a big supercharger out the bonnet. Yours is sleek and nice looking. What is this,
What's it going to do?
But I knew was working in IT, and since he had left school. And so I thought, he used to enjoy cars. And by this stage, I was into these Porsches and BMWs now. And I'm like, he must have something really good. So I said, hey, Jamie, what are you driving? And he goes, I'm driving a V8 Commodore. I was like, I sort of didn't expect that because it was a VK Commodore or something like that. And I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be a Porsche or a BMW. And he goes, yeah, I use it to tow my race car. I was like, bing!
Oh, yeah.
And so we said, if you want, we're going racing next week. If you want to come around and help us out at the garage. And so I went to his place that week and started, fixing up the car ready to go to the track, and then went to the track. And I, because I knew about cars, I said, you've got a fuel pot, you got this, and he goes, you know about cars. So then he got me more involved. So that was my direct entry into being involved as an adult in the circuit racing side of things. And I was sort of, working in the pit with him and helping him out. But the lucky break came when he lost his job in the IT world. He was working at Ansett back in the day. Ansett went bust and he had to get a new job. He went and worked for Glen Seaton Racing,
right,
which has turned into Tickford Racing.
Yep.
And, he was going to be away for half of the weekends that the state round, where he was previously racing his own car, was running, and he asked if I wanted to drive his car for him on those races because he wanted to still be represented. He had a sponsor on the car. And of course, it didn't take too much for me to say yes to that. So next thing you know, I'm getting to drive big cars, not just go-karts. And it was fantastic. It was a real fast little car, a 2-litre sports sedan. And, having worked on it, I knew it back to front. I also knew that after every session, you'd have to tighten every bolt and replace every bit on it. But that was a part of the fun of that. We used to be at the track at, 6 in the morning to get a parking in the back paddock of the raceway. It was always really busy back then. There was 350 entrants at every state event. And so you'd be going in as early as you could to get the best park for you and stuff. And after a few years, I worked with someone else doing some driver coaching, and we went into the garage and actually had a garage where we could park the car. And I was like, I'm never going back to the paddock again. So, but that starting point was valuable, and one of the things that led to my career. And thank you, Jamie. It was a fantastic opportunity, and he was very generous to give me that chance to drive his car.
Are you still in touch with Jamie?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Jamie.
He works at Motorsport Australia now, looking after a bunch of stuff in there. He's a fantastic supporter of motorsport in general. He's one of the good guys at Motorsport Australia. Not as much admin as more of a doer.
Ever had any sort of oh shit moments? Like you're racing, right? And you think this is going to hurt? Like
oh shit, as in when I'm in control of the car?
Yeah, when you're or someone else. My job, I'm a driving coach, and I'm sitting next to people at high speed. So the grey hair, I'm not old. The grey hair is from the bad drivers. Yeah. So going fast in the car with someone that doesn't know how to drive. Or
First track day I did with Dean, he was in the passenger seat, and I waited about half a lap to say, I don't see out of my left eye, so if there's anything happening, you got to let me know. Right? I could see the whites of his eyes through the helmet.
But that was when I told him that I've got my eyes shut most of the time anyway. But there's been a couple, and in fact, in that little Escort, the 2-litre sports sedan of Jamie's, I did on one race at Sandown on turn 1, someone knocked the front splitter, and it was pushing at high speed. It was pushing onto the tyre, so the splitter was kind of getting loaded and pushing onto the tyre, and I could see all the smoke from the tyre rub, and I was looking for the marshals to sort of give me some indication that it was bad or whatever. And they didn't say anything, and okay, just kept driving. It was probably about maybe 2 laps from the end of the race, and at Sandown, if you know, you're coming up over the back, over the crest, and you kind of go a little bit to
Luke?
No, it's at Sandown. It's turn 6, yeah. I don't think Sandown has many names for their corners. Yeah. Like it's not special like Phillip Island. Up over, and you sort of go to the left a bit, and then you just go a little bit straight down towards the bottom. And as I was going over, it was the left front tyre that was rubbing. Go over so it's not loaded, and as it sort of loads back up as I straightened down, it cut through and deflated fully, and I had no steering at that point. And so I'm heading towards the wall, and I know that the engine is the most expensive part of this car. So I did everything I could to get the car to spin around or to hit the back end of the car, which it did. It hit the back corner and damaged the back end of the car, not the engine, which was the more expensive bit. So that was good. It wasn't too bad. It was just panel damage. But having to drive home that night, and Jamie wasn't there that day, as I said, he was off doing Tickford racing. So having to contact him and let him know that I've crashed his car, and having to drive home with it on the trailer looking all sad and sorry, and then pulling it off the trailer and stuff, it's a pretty bad feeling. It's never that was out of my control in that the tyre deflated. I probably I probably could have pulled in, but it didn't seem as though it was that bad, and it turns out it was. So that's an oh shit moment, and one that you don't really like.
It's always scary.
Yeah. And the other version of having it oh shit moment of being in the car as an oh shit moment, I'm almost concerned that I don't get to the oh shit very often. Like I do realise something's not going well, but my heart rate doesn't change. We go through an incident and I don't really get too excited about it. And so there's been probably a handful of times where we've been off track in someone else, while someone else is driving. Nothing's been of any major concern. There's been some damage to some cars with panel damage and stuff like that, but nothing to the point of any injuries or any, the cars have generally still been able to get most of the way home themselves. So.
Yeah. I remember I had a no shit moment on Doncaster Road in Doncaster there. I was coming down the hill.
I don't remember there being a racetrack on Doncaster. Which turn was it? Turn 4 or 5?
It was turn 3. So I was in my grandfather's C Elvalia, 1976, 1977.
Yeah, they stopped on corner beautifully.
I had the B seat, so there was 6 of us in it, and I'm on my P's, and I'm coming down the hill, and we were doing the speed limit, and I've noticed the light went amber, so I put my foot on the brake, and by the time we got to the lights, the brakes had run out, and we just went straight through. And it was late enough that nothing happened, but that was a really oh shit moment, especially when you're younger.
Yeah, no, there's been plenty of that. I had a similar moment in a Ferrari. I've had 2 Ferrari 488s at the end of the straight at Sandown, 2 months apart, but getting down the end of the straight, you're doing 275 and you put the brakes on and they just go to the floor. And you're like, what? And luckily when I'm driving someone else's car, there's always a bit of margin you try to keep in there. And on one occasion, we still just got around the corner, no problem, because I'd backed off early. I just know there was something. I just thought I'm just going to back off on this lap and put the brakes. There was no brakes. The next one I was at full noise, put the brakes, no brakes, and just ran a bit wide and didn't even go on the gravel. But when you're in a car of that level of value and you got no brakes at that speed, that's an oh shit moment. Yeah. But they came back home, no problem.
It was funny when you talk about the Sandown incident. You mentioned that you didn't want to damage the motor, so you wanted to put it in the back. Right? I don't know. I don't think like that. So I want to save myself.
I'd love to have the ability that I can decide which part of the car I'm binning,
It's binning whenever it's going.
What do they call it? Fixation. Like you end up
fixation.
Yeah, where you look.
Back then, I was obviously much younger, but growing up skateboarding, I had a risk tolerance that was pretty liberal. I didn't have that wasn't. The engine was more of a concern than my own body. I'd thrown myself down some big stairs.
Did you ever hurt yourself bad skateboarding?
No, I did have my knee cleaned out a little bit, but that was more from wear and tear, not from an incident itself. I did some pretty big stuff, and I never had any major things from skateboarding, which is, I don't know. And that's why my risk tolerance was very different to most other people at that point, because it was normal for me to put myself at, risk. And it's not like you just throw yourself downstairs and go, I wonder what's going to happen at the bottom. You have a plan, even if you're on your skateboard and you're jumping and you know how to bail out. Like the first trick you learn in skateboarding is bailing.
Right.
Or, essentially crashing.
Yeah.
Luckily,
I mastered crashing on skateboard.
Yeah, luckily.
Right? But I don't remember ever having a plan though, so maybe that was the part I skipped.
Luckily for cars, I didn't go the same process and learn crashing before anything else, because that's not a good way to learn how to keep things cheap and accessible in karting. So,
yeah, funny thing with skateboarding, I gave it a go for like 2 seconds in my teens, but Nonna went to Italy in 1990.
Yeah.
Obviously, Italia 90 World Cup, brought me and all my cousins back the official 1990 tracksuits, which iconic, right? You got the Lego Man. I tried to skateboard the first time wearing this tracksuit, and I destroyed the knees.
They won 1990, didn't they?
No.
Okay.
No. 82.
82.
No, I just hosted it. Yeah.
I don't follow soccer.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a World Cup on at the moment. I walked through High Point yesterday and every shop's got soccer jumpers or whatever they call them there. And I was like, what's going on? Oh, yeah, there's a World Cup on. Yeah, right.
Well, you got, actually, speaking of soccer, Men's Shed.
Men's Shed, we've got
on Tuesday.
Archie Thompson this Tuesday.
Yep.
He knows soccer.
Yeah, he knows soccer.
He's been behind the wheel of cars before as well. I think.
Yeah.
I think he enjoys his.
I'm sure he drives somewhere, but you're saying he on purpose, at speed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think he's been out on track.
We're interviewing him on Tuesday night, a part of the talk, and I'll make sure I ask that question about the cars.
For sure. Yeah.
There you go.
I can't remember if I've met him through one of the manufacturer days or something. I'm sure there was some connection where I've seen him at one of the, like a driving type event launched for a manufacturer brand or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Whether he was right into it or not. He looked. Yeah.
And so Evolve, what's that about? I mean, obviously is the fun stuff that I get to do with you, but you also do other things, right? As part of
Evolve Driving is we've been around for 12 years. We've prior to that I was running a different business, that same driver training type business, but we wanted to evolve things, and so Evolve Driving came about. Yeah. And it's been, it takes, we sort of relate everything back to, if it's driving related, we are involved in it to some degree. So, majority of our public facing programs is our performance driving and our defensive driving programs. And we do some social nights and things like that. So we get a guest along and have a chat like you're going to do with Archie. So we have a bit of a mix of that. Now, our public events, we probably do in the region of 30 to 40 a year, depending on, that's a mix of both performance and defensive. So we're very active on that, how many times we're out on track. And that includes the periods where you take away this middle June, July period where we don't really go on track at all. And the Christmas period, so December and January, we don't go on track at all. And you go, hang on a minute, there's like 4 months out of the year that we're not even on track, and we're fitting those other 30 odd events in that other period. And then, so it's pretty busy from that perspective. And then we do other things with manufacturers where we run some programs where they might be promoting a vehicle, or doing a road drive, or doing a track experience, or whatever it might be, to launch a new vehicle or to engage their customers with a particular brand or whatever it might be. We've done things with Hyundai and Carlton Footy Club as a combo. We've done things with Bentley. We've done things with Honda. We've done things with a whole bunch of different brands too, and each of those take different forms. Some of them are, the Carlton Hyundai connection was that they would bring all of their fleet people, all of Hyundai bring their fleet people, and Carlton would bring all of their high-end prospect and sort of business network. And so they were able to use the driving program to network and stuff like that. So all of that sort of thing. And then even weird things like the recent Westgate Tunnel project, when they were building that, when they put the toll points in, they needed to test the tolls, the little sensors and things like
how
that
fast
were
you
working.
can go through.
That was one of the things. Yeah, we had to do that. Yeah, and when we're going half lane, and when you're changing lane in between, and when you're in the emergency lane, and so we did a program all based around that as well. So, it's not just racing track and all that sort of stuff, which is our main sort of thing, but it's also all these other different driving related type things. And
so you hold events, and these events, you bring your own car along, and there's driver training.
Yeah.
And how many people roughly at the events do you usually get?
So using our performance driving as the event that we talk about there, people do bring their own cars. It's valuable for them to be able to enjoy their car in an environment without speed limits, without speed cameras, and without the risk that all the other drivers create on the road. So regardless of the performance of the car, you can bring it along. Then on that, we have around about 50 people per event. So we have 4 groups, around about 12 people per group, and those groups are generally fairly well matched in terms of the type of cars and experience of the group. So you've got very minimal traffic when you're on the track as well. We have some really good guidelines to keep everyone safe out there, but you mentioned also the instructing as well. So we do have instructors, professional instructors, not just people who are willing to sit next to you. There are professional instructors who will help set the safety, help you do it all safe, but also help you to enjoy the true performance.
And these instructors, they're also aspiring race car drivers, right? Some of them.
When you say aspiring,
well, they're racing already.
Yeah. Motor racing is not about talent, it's about money, and they're the ones who don't have the money but the talent. So we take their talent and we use it in a positive way.
So just to go back to the race, what's it called, the driver days.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to come along and they were 18P plates and never done it before, you've got a place for them.
Correct.
What's the youngest age someone can come?
18.
Is it 18? Yep.
Yeah,
driver's license.
Driver's license, it doesn't need to be, you don't have to have your driver's license, but you need to be 18.
Yep.
There are some exceptions with people who have a Motorsport Australia license that can be a bit younger than that, but that also depends on the type of car and the attitude they bring.
Of course. Attitude
is one of the main things. If someone turns up and they want to show us that they're the next racing driver and they don't listen to any instructions or whatever, then they don't hang around. We're more than happy to give them their money back and send them up the road, because we want our guests who are driving to be able to enjoy the day. It's not a race day. It's not timed. It's non-competitive. So a lot of people now, there's too much technology.
They're timing themselves.
Some people are timing themselves, Dean.
I know. There's too much technology. You can't
on the Driver Foundation one at Phillip Island, a friend of mine, we were going around the track together, and he couldn't get away from me. I couldn't get away from him. And I think it was the second or third session. He had the instructor in the car and he was just gone. Right? He was like, the instruction he was getting during the lap.
Actually,
you see the track so differently.
Oh my Lord!
Like, is it turn 2 and 3 at Phillip Island? I just saw as one corner. it goes forever, and you get your lines all wrong. I got a funny story about one of Dean's days. So down at the island, and you're very strict, as you should be, on driver briefings. You've got to be there. You got to listen to it all, and importantly, follow the instructions. And this particular day, we had I guess you call him a celebrity type, that turned up late. And his people arrive in the garage to listen, but they were late, and he just sat in his car. Anyway, then we all got to get our wristbands and what have you. And this person was shocked to know that they wouldn't be getting on track until much later, until they had their own personal briefing, and they had their one and only warning. I just love that. That was the most leveling experience I've ever witnessed. But the point is that's why your events are, I think, the best of that.
And we don't differentiate. It doesn't matter where you are in the social scale of things. On our days, we know people do other events and things, but we want everyone to be on the same page for what we're doing. So you do have to listen to our briefing. And look, the briefing takes 27 minutes. That's exactly how long it takes me every time. So if you don't want to listen to that, you only have to listen to 7 minutes of that if that's the one part that I want you to listen to. The rest of it's just me talking about me. So,
and being a car and motorsport guy, what's a car that you've driven that's disappointed you? I say this knowing that probably not going to want to offend any.
Yes, that was exactly
manufacturer. But come on.
No, I was more thinking offending someone personally who's sitting next to me.
Oh, no.
Picking out.
No. I've made a number of mistakes over the years.
No, the more recent, there's probably been a few over the years, but the one that's most recent to me that disappointed me was the GR Corolla.
Right.
So it was just so numb, vague, and like it felt like I was sitting on the roof. It was so disjointed from what I was doing and what the feedback
was. Different to the
was.
Yaris? So, you were driven the Yaris, obviously.
Yeah. The one caveat is that on the same day I'd been driving in the session prior, I'd driven a GT3 RS and 992 GT3 RS, which its performance is like so good. Maybe I expected too much, but it was still not a good car to drive. It wasn't something that you feel anything from. Yeah. There was no driving it and going, oh, it's telling me this or it's doing that. It was just all guesswork, and I just drove it around and went, it felt sloppy, it felt doughy, it felt no engagement. And for me, the speed of a car or the lap time of a car is irrelevant nowadays. I've still got a competitive streak, but when I'm on nowadays, it's all about enjoying the car. Mm-hmm. And if I get out of it and it doesn't engage and enjoy, there's no point. The car can go in the bin. So,
and conversely, the car that's impressed you or surprised you the most?
You know the answer. It's sitting out the front.
I was hoping you were going to go there. Yeah.
No, I've had the opportunity of driving some fantastic cars and some really expensive machinery. Things like a Singer. They're so well put together, and that engagement that I was talking about not being there in the Corolla, it's there in every part of those cars. They're just so good at engaging the driver. Even the turbo, the new turbo design they did, it was just so responsive and connected, and they used the right people to help develop it and make it do what it does. Got to drive the LFA, got to drive drove an original GT40 that raced in Le Mans. I think it came 5th in Le Mans in 1966 or something like that. That was an interesting one in that, being, again, I'm only short, I don't really fit. A GT40
heavy car to drive?
No, not really, but it doesn't have it's got a fixed seat. So essentially the monocoque is where you sit.
Yeah.
And the pedals are way down there and the steering wheel's way out there. And so we just got some jackets, literally got a bunch of jackets and stuff, put them behind there, and I just got my bum there and I could just reach the pedals, and I'm trying to drive like that. And it was, it wasn't ideal, put it that way, right? It wasn't safe overall, and it wasn't a great way to control a car. But it was an opportunity to drive the car, and the owner wanted me to have a go.
Yeah.
And so I was respectful in it. I'm not going to drive it fast. But I drove that, and now I thought it was a recreation. So I drove it around. I got out, and they go, how did it feel? I go, I felt really old. The tyres feel like they have a lot of sidewall roll and stuff. They go, yeah, it is old. It's 1966. It was Le Mans. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How much is that worth? They go, about 2.3 million. And I'm like, you just got me to drive a car with jumpers and jackets stuff behind my bum. And but having the opportunity.
Like Indiana Jones got the blocks of wood under his shoes.
I wish I had that. That would be handy. I need that. So there's been a lot of great cars that I've driven, and it all comes back to that enjoyment, that how it engages you, how you get the feel from the car, and what, how reactive and crisp everything is in terms of you do something and it reacts that way, and it tells you it's happy to do that. That's the thing that I enjoy. And things like the LFA, where you've got that noise from the engine and stuff like that. Its upshifts were they're slow there. It's only a single clutch paddle shift gearbox, but you get used to that, and also it's a part of its character.
Yeah.
But the downshifts were still just as quick and really zing on the engine, and the chassis was mint, just things like that, where you just get out and go, it's a fantastic car, and great to be able to drive it. The owner was kind enough to let me have, basically drive it without any speed restrictions, essentially. So,
and you mentioned the car outside, so that was something that you were kind of working your way to, or you've been waiting for a while to find the right one. What is it that you've just not long bought?
The Honda NSX.
Yes.
Yeah.
Has it lived up to your expectations?
It's exceeded the expectations. It does everything so much better than I expected it to do, and having it now for a couple of months, 3 months maybe, and taking it to a number of racetracks. We've been at 4 different racetracks already with it. It is driving around town, it's fantastic. It's enjoyable. Gets a lot of looks, as you'd imagine.
Yeah.
But then taking it on track, it's actually performing much better on track than I expected it to as well, because it's a 36-year-old car.
Yeah.
But it does everything really well. And that feedback that I was talking about, it really engages you with every little aspect to what it is, doing. And it's amazing how when you drive that and then you realise just how dull modern cars are.
Yeah.
Any of these new BMWs and things like that, and even the new Porsches, they've got such performance, but there's a dullness to it. You miss something, and you don't realise until you go back to that. If you only ever drive this modern car, you go, "Oh, this is great."
The performance without the feel is wasted, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah,
and you need to feel it.
And that sort of brings to another topic. But that modern cars, they're just numbers now.
Yeah,
they're not about the actual driving, and they'll take off from the lights and do 0 to 100 in 2 seconds or whatever. That's a one-trick pony.
Who cares?
That's the challenge for engineers from here. I mean, I assume this is not the end of the car story in terms of the rise of an EV, but I think the challenge will be to make EVs, or at least the driver-focused variants of them, somehow engineer that driver feel. It's going to have to be different, no doubt, but there is something unique, and it's hard to describe, right?
It is hard to describe.
The feel that you get through the steering wheel and noises and combination of things that say that's a driver-focused car.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned EV there, but even modern cars, just
true,
whether they're hybrid, whether they're just whatever, modern cars have also lost it.
Yeah, they haven't got steering. There's been a lot of things happening and they're heavier.
You look at some of the cars now, they're close to or over 2 tons. Now, that is significant. My NSX is 1,350 kilos. It's only 270 horsepower, but it's still rapid. It's not super fast, but it's rapid.
Yeah.
These other cars, they've got to have 1,000 horsepower because they weigh 2.5 tons. There's only one way to get that level of mass to move. But the problem with that level of mass is it doesn't matter how many electronics and how many gadgets you've got. As soon as you put the brakes on and try and get it to turn, it just doesn't have the same reaction and dynamics as what a light car has.
Yep.
And 1,350 for the NSX, I think, is still too heavy. It should be 1,150 or something. That'd be great. Just getting back to simplicity, something that just revs nicely, something that's light and nimble and reactive. That's all that we really want. As a driver, that's what you want. If you just want to be the guy that has the biggest number, by all means, get a new car. They've all got the biggest number. But
well, Dean, this has been fun.
Thank you very much for this.
Plenty of stuff we can keep talking about.
Sharing some stories.
Cars are so easy to talk about, aren't
Before we go though, Evolve, you got a website. If they, get a bit of a plug.
We'll chuck it on there on the screen.
Up here, down here. We've got the links. Link in description. And like and subscribe.
Well done.
The website, evolvedriving.com.au.
Fantastic.
Easy. And all of our handles, like our Instagram and all that, is Evolve the Driver.
Evolve the Driver.
Yeah. And we have that motto, Evolve the Driver. So on our performance drive days, we're evolving the driver to be faster. On our defensive drive days, we're evolving the driver to be safer. And don't forget, even if you're passionate about driving and you want to go on the racetrack, don't underestimate the value of a defensive driving course, because to get to the racetrack, you've got to drive on the road. And if you can't do that safely, you're not going to make it to the fun times. So
we've got 2 boys that are itching.
Well, my nephews, when they turn 18, I usually buy them a defensive driving package.
Yeah.
It's the first thing you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's surprising. We have adult learner combination. So we get the parent comes along with the kid, and the kid expects to learn, right? So they're there and they get at the end of the day, I've learned some stuff. The parent, who's been driving for 20, 30 years already, the number of parents that come up to me after a defensive day and go, I can't believe how much I've just learned, how much I've never knew about these simple concepts, but really valuable concepts. And so
I had to show Guido his indicators in his BMW work, which no
BMW driver does. Imagine having that job, fitting the indicators at BMW.
Knowing that
you're in the factory, it goes out of the factory, and you're like, I've just done that for no reason.
Well, a gift from our sponsor, Bobby's, to
Fantastic.
you. Thank you.
The coffee was good, so we are going to enjoy that one for sure.
Thank you
Come
very
to
much.
the office and enjoy that with me.
Cheers.
Thanks, Adrian. Great.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.